I'm Liz, aka Elizabeth Rachael.print on Instagram, and I'm a print designer. I would say that I've always been creative. Ever since like a little kid, I've always been like drawing. I was like really into fashion when I was younger. And then as I've gotten older, I work in fashion. That's kind of gone out to more like projects around the home. Like I love making stuff. Like I'm quite crafty. I went to college and I studied textiles and fashion because I was really into fashion. And as I was studying that, I realised that actually I wasn't into fashion that much, but I absolutely loved doing the print design type of thing. And there it was like really hands-on with like screen print everything, like research, all your projects and stuff. And then so from there I decided to study, it was called Textile Design for Fashion at university. And there like I really focused on print, and the uni that I went to was really good. We had like a massive lab where you could like dye fabric, like huge tables where you could do like all your screen printing, and digital print machines as well. So I was really lucky that there I understood the industry side of things, you know, how prints get printed, whether it be screen print or digital print or loads of different techniques, not just to do with print but to do with fabric as well. And then from there I was really lucky. I went to a graduate show and in London, and I got spotted by a big high street brand, and then I was offered a job as a print assistant there, and that just opened my eyes massively. You know, at uni it's all really creative. You could do whatever you want, you could make patterns from absolutely anything, like raindrops, anything. Whereas when I went into the industry, it was obviously really commercial. So that was a huge change for me. And I think I struggled with it to start with as well. And then from there, I wanted to explore like every type of avenue. So from there, I went and worked for a print studio. And then from there, I went to a suppliers. And then from there, I learned how to do graphics. So yeah, I feel like I have worked in every corner of the industry. My previous job before this was as a womenswear designer as well. So yeah, I feel like I've just tried to get in every corner that I can just to understand as much as of the process as possible. My inspiration, it comes from all over. I think from being at university and being taught to be really creative, you know, a lot of my work that I put on Instagram it's a lot of florals, so obviously that's inspired by flowers. I think it's definitely important to experiment. Like I've experimented so much. Like when I started off after uni, I just did digital print. I didn't do any drawing at all. And then from there I got into loads of abstract work. Obviously as I've gotten older and I work in like for commercial companies, my work's gone really commercial, so that's where I've drawn like a lot of florals. And I do think it is important to experiment, and I also think it's important to have a handwriting that as soon as somebody looks at that work they can tell, oh, that's like Elizabeth's work. I can tell straight away. But then if you want to work in the industry like I have done in the past, you know, if you want to work for a supplier or a big company that has loads of different handwritings like River Island or Topshop, then I do think it is important to learn loads of different techniques and to master loads of different handwritings. I would say Photoshop 100%. I've used that ever since graduating. I still use it now. Illustrator, I know a lot of designers use Illustrator, but I think that depends on your handwriting. I've used it in the past, but just for graphic design. I've never used it to create a print for, because that's just not my handwriting. But I've only been using it for under a year is Procreate, and that's on the iPad. And I've got an iPad Pro now, but I did just start off with just your normal average iPad. And that helped me a lot, because just for time, it's a lot quicker than sitting down at your desk and drawing a painting and scanning the painting in. And then putting it into Repeat, whereas Procreate, you can just do it there and then. But I know artists use so many different things. Like I've got a friend that uses like Wacom tablet instead of Procreate, and I think that works a lot better with Photoshop. I think obviously with your portfolio, it's always best to have your absolute best work in there. I would personally never bother putting something in there just for the sake of filling it up. It's much better to have a short, concise portfolio, and also to make sure it really flows nicely as well. Like before I have an interview or anything, I will rearrange my portfolio depending on who I'm seeing, and then I flick through it, and as I flick through it, I talk myself through it, so I know how I'm going to be speaking to whoever is interviewing me. So you know, it could go from really graphic things to not so graphic, to like painterly florals, and then to abstract, just so it has a really nice flow, or it can even flow colour wise or project wise. And then another thing, I would also change your portfolio depending on who you're going to see. Like, so it's no good if you want to approach someone like Anthropology, where they have loads of like hand painted stuff, but your work's really graphic, because that's all they're going to want to see. So you should definitely just bear that in mind. So I like to research quite a lot. So even if a company sends me a mood board, I will always send one back, just to know that I'm completely on the same page as them. And also because I'm constantly researching, and print and pattern is my area of expertise, the likelihood is that I'm going to have seen a lot of things that they wouldn't have seen. But obviously I always make sure my research is based off what they've sent. Then I just paint. I paint loads. Like, that's my second thing. And I try not to really be too precious about what I'm painting, because just me, personally, I tend to just put pen to paper and just see where it takes me. And if I think too much about what I'm doing, I kind of get a bit stressed out. And I always, my prints never ever end up what I think they're going to look like. Like, I can sit down and be like, right, I'm going to do a black floral with some red roses, and it'll probably come out bright pink with some blue flowers, because I just change my mind that much. And I think if you stick to your guns about something, sometimes that can ruin the creative process. So then after I've done all my painting, I'll scan everything in, and then I'll start putting it in to get that on Photoshop. And when I'm in Photoshop, I really just focus on the flow of the print. Does it sit well? Is it gonna really important how it repeats? You know, you need to make sure that one area just isn't really busy and another's really sparse. It needs to have like a nice smooth flowing repeat all over. Yeah, I would say the most important is just make sure your work reflects the company that you're reaching out to. Another important thing would be to research the company fully. You know, LinkedIn's great for that. You can research a company on there, and like reach out to people on there rather than emailing them. For me personally, one part that I love is doing my own trend research. I think because I've studied it at university, I did a whole like course on it. I like to do my own trend research. I just have like a good feel for it. But there are websites that are really great as well. So WGSN is obviously the biggest trend forecasting website, but that is really expensive. But that's not the only one. There's also really good websites like Pattern Bank, where they used to do a lot of stuff where you could access it for free. So, you know, sometimes it can take a lot of pressure off you to have someone just lay out all the information really flat, really clean. You've got all the shows, what every designer did. So something like that, it's worth investing in. And when I graduated, digital print was fairly new, and we were seeing it on the catwalk. Like Alexander McQueen was like one that completely changed fashion, like massively. So I really focused on digital print, and I think that helped me come to terms with Photoshop, learning all the different things. Another important lesson that somebody taught me at uni is you're not, and I didn't understand it at the time, but it was, don't design for yourself. And I think it's always important to like the work that you do. But yeah, you're not necessarily always going to be designing for yourself, especially if you're a freelancer. You're going to get companies that reach out to you. I would say a massive do is definitely just get your work out there, out into the open. When I was at university, my lecturer said to me, he said, no one's ever going to come knocking at your door for the work, and that is so true. Now we've got social media, we've got Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. Another do would be, don't be afraid to experiment. You know, not everything works out. I can spend a whole day drawing and maybe I've drawn one nice flower, but just don't let that get you down. We all have our bad days, but if you're having days like that, just focus on something else. You know, focus on research, focus on researching companies that you want to work for. Just because you're not feeling creative that day doesn't mean don't let it weigh you down too much. I would say, you know, never ever slate anyone that you've worked for. You know, obviously we all have customers that are less undesirable that you might have worked for, but licensing, it is a tricky one. You always get people that contact you that want to buy your design for like £5 or something, but they're looking for a licenser, which is something that I don't do. I just sell my designs outright for quite a high price. Once it's sold, it is that person's design. I no longer own it. They can do whatever they want with it. I just ask for portfolio rights, so that could be on my Instagram or on my website, and nobody ever seems to have a problem with that because it's promotion for them at the end of the day as well. But there are other licensing types. There's websites like Shutterstock, which I know some people use, or Pattern Bank. But then there are other websites where you can upload your work, and there's different license types, and then you get, I would say like a normal amount is like 60 to 40% or 50% commission. So I would say just research what is best for you, because I do know a lot of people that have made a lot of money off doing 10 designs, but those 10 designs have sold thousands of times. So yeah, it's totally up to what works for you as an artist. I actually have a list of other things that I do. It's called like what to do when not feeling creative. And it is like loads of admin stuff. So it would just be like updating my spreadsheets, or going on Pinterest, maybe just rearranging my boards, going on Instagram, looking at brands, looking at artists, just get outside, go for a walk, and just really don't let it get you down, because it happens to everyone, and I think it balances out as well. I think Instagram's really good compared to Pinterest, just because of this, like, it's so social, especially when you're a freelancer. It can be quite isolating. I think especially in the print design community and the artist community, one thing I've always found is everyone is so nice. I've never worked with anyone who isn't really happy or isn't scared to share what they know or share what they've learned. So it's really nice in that sense for reaching out to people. But I think it started from, I was so unhappy at my old job, that I think it started because I was doing my portfolio, started Instagram with that, and noticed that there was like some really talented people. I thought, oh, maybe I'll just stick to what I know, which is print design. So I started doing my portfolio and uploading my work on there, and I was just like so shocked at the response. Like, I still can't believe it now. I can't believe anyone's interested in the work that I do and that people find it that inspiring, because to me it's just, I don't know, it's just what I do. It's what I've always done, and I get a lot of people that follow me. I think Pinterest will always be great for researching. That is one thing that Instagram falls behind on, but I think they focus more on the social aspect of it. One thing I do want to do is I want to collaborate with more brands that like align with my type of work. I've worked with some really, really great brands so far, a lot of like small startups, and that's been so fun to work with. So I really want to continue that. As I mentioned, I also really want to get into printed products and just do.
Thank you.
Bye.